You are 10, and today you belong to a man. The chapel is soaked in sunlight, long panes of violet and rose spilling across the stone floor like ribbons. Perfumed lilies mask the damp scent of age in the walls. Your feet barely touch the ground as the hem of your gown pools around your ankles. Ivory silk stitched with lions you've never seen in real life. The veil falls over your face like a curtain, heavy, prickling, stitched too tight beneath your chin. It's hard to breathe. The choir sings, but you don't understand the Latin. You understand your name, spoken like a question, and then his, Lord Theobald of Corel, your cousin thrice removed. He's 38. His hands are broad, his ring too cold. You flinch when he touches your shoulder, and someone in the second pew whispers. To your left stands Merla, your father's elder sister, now the court's matron. Her face is still. Her eyes don't meet yours. She nods once. That's all the blessing you'll get. If this is how queens begin, how many never survive the crown? You look toward the altar. The gold cross glints in the morning light, and behind it, Miriam, your maid since you were 5, stands near the door, her hands twisting the frayed edge of her apron. She watches you like she wants to run forward, but she doesn't. Theobald steps closer. The priest says the vow again. You don't answer. Someone coughs. Theobald presses your small hand between his fingers and answers for you. There's a tremor in the veil now, your breath bouncing off the lace. Theobald lifts it. You catch the scent of cloves on his beard, wine on his breath. His smile is all teeth, stained with celebration. Around you, the nobles murmur their approval. A child has become a wife. A name has secured land. Theobald's hands never leave yours. When he guides you down the aisle, the world blurs at the edges. Someone throws petals, someone else plays a lute. You don't remember the rest. Only that the veil catches on your braid as you pass the archway. It tears with a sound no one hears but you. Outside, the bells ring. They ring as if something beautiful has begun. But you know better. You saw the way Theobald looked at you during supper last week. You saw the bruises on the kitchen girl who spilled his wine. You saw the silence on Miriam's face when she brushed your hair this morning, her hands shaking as she pinned pearls into the braid. You want to run, but the shoes they gave you are too tight. The aisle feels longer than it did before. You try not to cry, but the chapel light glitters too much. Your tears feel like part of the ceremony. Back at the threshold, you glance back once. Merla is gone. The priest is folding the prayer book. The choir boys are pulling off their white collars. The stained glass window behind the altar flickers red where the sun now hits the ruby in the centre. You never see that colour the same way again. And still, the bells ring. They echo into the garden, where servants set tables for the feast, into the upper chambers, where a bed has already been turned down, into the courtyard, where your mother once used to read poems aloud on spring mornings. They ring until all you hear is ringing, long after the guests have gone. The torn veil is folded into a cedar chest that night, creases pressed by a maid who will never mention your name again. You sleep in silk, beside a man who snores, a child buried beneath the weight of a crown she doesn't yet wear. And somewhere just beyond the chapel walls a sparrow sings, not because it is joyful, but because it doesn't know what happened in that room. The door closes. Outside, the music fades into nothing but vibration. You can still hear the bells ringing in your ribs, though no one plays them anymore. The scent of roasted meats, of wine and firewood, clings to your gown. Your shoes sink into the thick blue carpet of the wedding chamber, so deep you fear you might vanish inside it. The walls are embroidered with hunting scenes, dogs frozen mid-chase, stags pierced by arrows, red thread for blood. Lord Theobald of Corel, your new husband, your cousin thrice removed, does not speak. He places his goblet on the side table with a dull sound. His fingers fumble with the buckle of his belt, then his cloak, then the chain that holds his lion pendant. Each item dropped slowly, deliberately, onto the chair beside the bed. The bed is four-posted, massive, swallowed in cream-coloured fabric. The sheets are pressed. There are flowers on the pillow. You were told it was tradition. You still haven't moved. Aveline, daughter of nobles, 10 years old, stands still in her wedding gown, pearl pins heavy in her braids. Her lips part once, then close again. Her hands twitch beneath the sleeves. Theobald walks past you without touching you. He pours another glass of wine, drinks half. Then he finally turns and looks, and smiles. You glance toward the door. It is shut, bolted now. There is a fire burning in the hearth, but you feel cold all the way down to your heels. In the corridor beyond, Miriam waits, your maid, 16 years old, loyal. She was told not to come in unless summoned. She sits on the bench just outside the chamber, twisting her hands. Her apron smells like soap and chamomile. She presses her ear to the wood for just a moment, then pulls away. Inside, the silence grows heavier than the veil. Theobald lifts the curtain around the bed. He speaks, finally. Just your name, Aveline, as if tasting it. Then a low chuckle. Then nothing. You still don't move. The embers shift. The candle on the dressing table flickers. You count its movement to keep your breath from catching. You count. 1, 2, 3. A soft thump as your stuffed cloth doll falls from your satchel. It lands beside the bedpost. Neither of you pick it up. It lies there for hours, its stitched eyes pointed at the ceiling, its threadbare limbs outstretched, waiting. Later, when the fire dies and the feast below has ended, and the servants have swept the petals from the hall, no one asks where you went. No one wonders why the veil is missing from the cedar chest, why the pearls have been pulled from their clasps, why your slippers are stained. No one knocks on the door. And Miriam, when she finally enters the room to tend the fire, finds your gown discarded beside the hearth, your doll face down, your voice folded into silence. She touches your shoulder. You flinch, but say nothing. Not then, not the next morning, not for many, many months. And still, no one speaks of that night. The walls remain embroidered with the same stags. The bed is made again, the door remains closed, and somewhere beneath it all something soft, once loved, lies forgotten, forever watching. The door opens each morning, but never all the way. You wake when the bell tolls, not because you wish to, but because you've learned that lingering brings knocks, and knocks bring bruises. You rise in silence, slip your feet into slippers too narrow, fold your nightdress like Miriam showed you, and you walk, careful, practiced steps, as if every stone on the floor is watching. It is late spring in Corel. Outside the courtyard blooms, tulips, foxglove, wild fennel curling toward the sun. But you haven't been allowed there in weeks. Theobald said it's too muddy, then too windy, then too far. You stopped asking after the second time. Instead, you count the cracks in the corridor walls. Watch the dust cling to the beams in morning light. Listen for footsteps before you leave your chamber. Lady Ismene de Roquefort, court advisor to your husband, passes you in the hallway most days. She carries her rosary like armour, silver beads gliding through calloused fingers. She nods sometimes. Other times she asks simple things. Did you sleep? Has Miriam been caring for you? Have you bled yet? You never answer more than 3 words. The silence is your fortress. If you speak too much, the air tilts. The floor moves. Theobald notices. Theobald, your husband, the man they celebrated. The man who speaks to you now only in commands, who gestures to Miriam as if she were his own, who tightens his grip when no one's watching. The bruises he leaves are never where the maids can see. You've learned to move so your sleeves stay long, to keep your eyes low, to disappear before voices rise. The garden gate creaks open every morning. You hear it from your chamber. Servants cross the threshold with baskets of herbs. Laughter follows them, brief, untroubled. You wonder if they know you're still alive. Miriam lays out your dresses each day without speaking. She ties your laces gently, but her eyes flicker with something you haven't named yet. Pity? Guilt? She tucks your braid in neatly. You let her. The dolls are gone now. The windows in the east wing are too high to see from. You tried once, dragging a stool across the stone, but it scraped too loud, and the scolding that followed taught you to sit still instead. Ismin's rosary clinks as she turns corners. She never raises her voice, but lately her questions feel like traps, not to wound, but to expose, to find the shape of the hurt without naming it. You wish she wouldn't, because when she looks too long, you remember your mother, how she used to tilt your chin upward before brushing your cheeks, and the ache of that memory is worse than the bruises. Silence at least doesn't try to fix you. You pass Theobald in the corridor one afternoon. He touches your wrist, too long. You don't pull away. You don't blink. He smiles. You count to 5, then breathe. When he leaves, you hear the faint click of Ismin's rosary again, just beyond the archway. She sees everything, but like you, she says nothing. The wind scratches at the shutters. Winter has thickened the halls of Corel. The hearth burns hotter. The stones leak cold no matter how many furs line the floors. You are 12 now. The dresses are heavier. The silence. Absolute. This morning you woke to a dull ache in your back. The sheets beneath you were damp. The linen streaked with a red you had only ever seen in stories. You said nothing. You sat still until Miriam entered, tray in hand, lips pale with sleep. She saw it. She paused. Then without a word she gathered the cloth, folded it, pressed it to her chest like a prayer, and carried it to the basin. There she scrubbed until her knuckles blanched. The red water turned pink, then clear again. The rag would be burned, the basin emptied, the truth erased. But it had already happened. At supper, the chandeliers drip light onto golden goblets. The hall glows. Courtiers murmur about hunting, land disputes, the sea's reluctance to freeze. Merla sits high beside the Lord's chair, lips tight, hands clasped over her jewelled belt. And Theobald laughs. Your husband, broad, flushed, intoxicated with wine and pride, raises a cup. An heir is coming, he says, mark this day. The hall claps. Aveline, seated at his side in a silver gown that hangs too wide on her frame, does not speak. Her eyes stay on the roasted pear on her plate. Her fingers tremble around her spoon, though no one notices. No one sees her knuckles, white from pressure. No one sees her feet curled tight beneath the chair. No one sees the way Miriam watches from the wall, lips pressed so hard they're bloodless. They see a girl crowned in pearls. They see a future mother. They do not see the blood in the basin. Theobald wears a new ring tonight. Garnet set in gold, thick, glinting with a polished sheen. He strokes it often, dragging it across the rim of his goblet as if it proves something. You recognize the gesture. He kissed that same hand this morning, after wiping your tears with it. Merla nods once, satisfied. Evelyn lowers her gaze. She does not eat. The servants come and go, silver trays clinking, slippers brushing stone. Laughter rises with each refill. The world spins without interruption. But beneath the table, your hands remain still in your lap, still as stones. Miriam will return to your chamber after this. She will brush your hair in silence. She will place the warmed brick beneath your feet. She will leave the clean nightdress on the chair. She will not ask if it hurts, because she knows it does, because she heard what you didn't say when you looked at the water in the basin and didn't scream. Theobald stands now, offering a toast to legacy, to lineage, to Corell's future. And as the nobles rise, silver rays to a future shaped in your womb, you stare at the ring. The blood beneath it may have been washed away, but you remember. You remember everything. The corridors have begun to speak, not aloud, never aloud, but in fragments, in glances, in door hinges that creak slightly longer than they should, in tapestries that shift, not with wind, but with secrets. It is spring again in Corell, your 13th year. You walk softly, Evelyn. The girl who once tried to outrun echoes now follows them. You listen with purpose. You study. You remember. Lady Ismene de Roquefort, Theobald's court advisor, does not teach you with words. She never tells you what to do. She shows you what is allowed, what is overlooked, when to speak, when to still your breath, the names that carry weight, the silences that scream louder than speech. In the altar room, she prays with her eyes open. You watch her fingers move across the rosary, slow and deliberate, each bead a signal. Her lips murmur one thing, but her gaze tells you another. Baldric will never be your ally, they say. Canon Elric flinches at your name. Use it. And you do. You begin with the way you walk, quieter, sharper, head tilted slightly downward, but never low enough to lose sight. You learn who steps left in the hallway, who expects you to move aside, who uses your name and who avoids it. You hear Elric whisper your name in a blessing once. The second time, he hesitates. You smile when he does. In the gallery corridor, the sun hits the windows like a blade. Mirrors line the walls, warped, old, edged with guilt. They reflect nothing clearly. You hide behind a column when you hear Baldric coming. Prince Baldric of Corell, son of Theobald's first wife, your stepson by title, your elder by years. He laughs too loud. His boots slap the stone like a threat. Air is coming, he mocks. That girl's womb will be dust before spring ends. Someone laughs with him, then a crash. The mirror nearest him shatters. A misstep, a careless gesture, perhaps a warning. Baldric curses and walks off. He doesn't know you were there, but you remember every word. You watch as servants sweep the glass into a black cloth. The shards catch the light like teeth. Later, Ismene sees your face and says nothing, but her eyes hold yours a beat longer. You understand now, power begins with memory, not with swords, not with rings, with what you keep quiet and what you carry. You kneel beside her in the chapel that evening. Your gown brushes the stone. The echo of your name still lingers behind your eyes. "Would you like to pray?" she asks. You nod, but you don't close your eyes. You watch the candlelight bend around the glass casket above the altar. Inside lies a saint, bones wrapped in lace, hands folded forever. They say she died protecting a secret. You wonder what would happen if you did the same. The next morning you walk past Baldric in the hall. He doesn't look at you. You whisper his name once, soft, like a question. He turns, you smile, then say nothing. The cracked mirror remains. No one replaces it, and every time you pass it, you see yourself, fractured, flickering but never unseen. The fire crackles lower than usual today. It's a dry summer in Corell, heat pressing against the palace walls, curling parchment, loosening the glue in old bindings. Servants move slower. Air hangs heavy with lavender, sweat, and something faintly metallic. You step into the hearth chamber alone. Mirian is in the garden. Merla has gone to the bishop's hall. No one watches. In your hands, the doll. Software small. mended twice at the neck, a patch of missing lace where the eye should be. It was once your sister, your friend, your witness. You hold it a moment longer than you need to, then kneel. The fire glows orange-blue, licking the edge of the grate. You don't flinch as the heat licks your wrists. You place the doll at the edge first, gentle, like a prayer, then nudge it forward. It takes the flame quietly. No scream, no drama, just cloth becoming smoke, just childhood, turning to ash. You don't move until the stuffing curls inward and the limbs collapse. When you stand, your gown smells faintly of burning cotton. You turn, you don't look back. That evening, Merla finds you in the corridor outside the east vestibule. She gestures for you to follow. She doesn't offer her arm, she speaks of alliances, trade, the air. You answer her now, not in silence but in fragments, short phrases, measured pauses, calculated questions that seem naive, but are not. You speak just enough to make her wonder what you know, just enough to make her unsure whether you're listening or remembering. When you leave, your footsteps sound different. They echo louder now. Miriam enters the hearth chamber later. She brings lavender water to soak linens. She notices it immediately, the scent, the residue, the burn pattern on the stone. She kneels, brushes the ash with her fingers, finds something soft, half of a singed ribbon. She lifts it to her face, her eyes close. She says nothing. But when she braids your hair that night, her hands tremble. You do not ask why. You sit taller now. You walk straighter. You learn the pattern of the guard rotations, the times the Archbishop meets with Merla, the servant who delivers letters to Ismene without speaking. You hear whispers now of how you look changed, of how Theobald drinks more, of how Baldric avoids your gaze. They wonder why you've stopped wearing pearls, why your voice carries, even when soft, why the air feels different when you enter a room. They feel it, though none can name it. They sense that something has been buried or burned. And in the quiet that follows, you're not waiting anymore. You're listening. You are choosing. And from the ashes behind the hearth, a girl who once waited to be spared now begins to be feared. The great hall of Corel is colder now, not from the season, though it is late autumn and frost has begun to lace the window edges, but from something else, something quieter, denser, a presence not declared, but felt. You step through the arched threshold and the room hushes. Aveline of Corel, once a child bride in ivory and pearls, now walks flanked by 2 guards, not for protection, but so no one forgets that every space she enters answers to her. The gown is deeper in colour now, dark rose velvet, lined in fox fur, no jewels in the braid, no ribbons, only a single silver clasp at the throat, shaped like a lion asleep. Lady Ismene walks beside you, quiet, precise, unreadable. Her rosary still hangs at her waist, but it does not move. She no longer prays in public. Canon Elric, seated at the far end of the hall, rises when you approach, then sits again before your eyes meet his. He has stopped blessing your name. You pause at the bottom of the throne passage. The steps are shallower than you remember. There, on the seat, folded neatly across the carved armrest, is the torn veil from your wedding day. Someone placed it there. You don't touch it. Behind you, the nobles whisper, their tones low, uncertain. Your name is spoken with a new cadence, measured, weighted, slightly cautious. You do not sit yet. Instead, you turn. Baldric stands against the gallery wall, arms crossed. He meets your gaze for the first time in weeks, but he looks away before you do. His dagger is missing from his belt. You notice. Theobald, seated 2 chairs down from Merla, coughs into his hand. His ring catches the light, the same garnet band he toasted with last winter, the same hand that once silenced you. No one watches him now. His voice does not carry like it once did. He drinks more, sleeps later, forgets names. They say the king has lost favour. They say he should step aside. They say his child bride has outlived his use. But no one says it in your presence. You take the first step, then the second. The veil remains untouched as you pass, but its edges lift in the breeze from the stained glass windows, just enough to remind you it still exists. Not to haunt, but to witness. You reach the dais. You do not speak. Isman stands behind your right shoulder. Elric bows his head again, but slower this time, more deliberate, as if bracing for something not yet spoken. You place one hand on the carved lion of the throne. Your breath is steady, your silence loud, and all around you, the ones who laughed, doubted, lied, wait for the sound of your voice. But you don't give it to them, not yet. Instead, you walk back down the passage. The guards follow, not ahead of you, behind, because you no longer need protection from them. They need it from you. In the corridor, a page stumbles to get out of your way. Baldric mutters something to no one. Elric returns to his scriptures. And the veil? It stays folded on the throne, unclaimed, like a ghost of the girl they tried to keep there. And now, every time you pass that empty seat, they wonder if you will sit, or if you already rule, without needing to, without saying a word, because now they finally understand what they created, and they are afraid.